Gaming news this week is full, and honestly, the latter half of the week is when things really started to pick up. If you haven't caught all of the coverage here on Reforge Gaming, we do a daily upload and a talk show all week long. We kicked off the week talking about the Game Pass changes because I got back in town, but also the Concord closed beta, and now the open beta is available. Would love to hear your feedback on that. This segment's designed to every Friday to sort of comb through all the news of the week, and that's up to you. This is a talk show. Also, Light No Fire got some attention because there were tweets from Sean Murray that ultimately led to the No Man's Sky Worlds Update Part 1. There is also a brand new expedition in No Man's Sky, and what they've done with the game, seemingly taking the technology of Light No Fire and putting it in to No Man's Sky. So we could talk about that. We had Space Marine 2 gameplay leak, which is adding to some of my concerns. I have a video about that. Some of the gameplay in that looking like performance will be a challenge. Then we covered Star Wars Outlaws, the latest exclusive footage from IGN. They're going to have more footage today. I think it looks downgraded compared to what we saw last year. Splitgate 2 announced officially by the Splitgate devs, coming next year to both old and new gen consoles, as well as a cross-platform game. Looking like they're adding classes and abilities to the game, as well as the portals. So I'm very interested to know if you guys are interested in that game after the first Splitgate did so well, at least initially. Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn has arrived, and the reviews are mixed. Not particularly strong or bad, just sort of in the middle, landing around a 6 or a 7 pretty much everywhere. And I'm hearing that it's enjoyable, but its score is significantly lower on Xbox compared to everywhere else. But another game came out this week that's doing much better. Dungeons of Hinterberg reviews are looking pretty good. We could talk about that. If you have played those games, let me know how you've experienced them, what you think. Then we thought maybe the PS5, the PlayStation 5 Pro, was going to get delayed. One tweet from Tommy Hendy, Tom Henderson over there at Insider Gaming, set the world ablaze with one tweet. He has since, sort of corrected the record and spoke to it. We can talk about that. Diablo 4 revealed their brand new Spirit-born class, and we're hearing good things. It's sounding like that game's getting into a much better place. And then lastly, First Descendant continues to do updates, removed the icons that looked like direct copies of Destiny. And I'm sure there's stuff that I missed, so be sure to bring that to the table right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Happy Friday to you. We would love to continue to do this segment on Friday mornings. Gaming news this week, just sort of combing over everything that has happened. You can ask me what I think about what's going on. We can take a look at different things. If you feel like there are burning topics or that you'd like to express your opinion or thoughts on, as well as mine. I am seeing people theorize that they thought Tom Henderson said what he said so that then he could write an article about it, correcting it. And I'm like, that's not really Tom Henderson's style. He has sources. He has reliable insiders. He doesn't really have to play that kind of a game. I genuinely think he was just being cheeky with his tweet, just being a little facetious, where he said something to the effect of like, yes, if it releases, right? If the PlayStation 5 releases this year. And then everybody ran with it. So they, Insider Gaming has since posted an article, which we could obviously take a look at as well and see. So guys, go through that morning ritual, man. Smash that like button. And Alex starting the day with a 5-bomb. Han shot first, and so did you. The first gifted member of the day is a 5-bomb, taking us to 8. You guys are going to need about 108 members or something like that today to hit the goal for tonight. 500 members on the week. And I got to play a scary game tonight. And then if you guys go beyond that and hit the stretch goal, which would be incredible, then my wife can mess with me while I am playing the game. And renewals count. If you are on a Member Plus or a VIP, you can celebrate that renewal in chat, and it adds to this total. So don't forget to do that. And don't forget to get your coffee orders in. ReforgeRoast.com back up and running, and Frickmas available as well. Frickmas in July for all of you that love that flavor. He's a bit of a troll by nature. I don't know if I would call Tom Henderson a troll by nature. He can be a little goofy, little cheeky, and he can obviously take some shots at people. on Twitter. But I don't think he was like, oh, I want to write an article about the PS5 Pro. Let me answer this one person and say this thing. You know, because the funny thing is it took almost a day for it to even hit the news cycle. Like, he sent that tweet and it sat for like 20 hours before anybody started actually like writing articles about it. Your Thunder Cage is doing 205 DPS. The Thunder Cage is a fun little weapon. It really is. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to everybody, guys. Welcome on in. It is Friday. It's a good day to be a member. Fridays are very full for members. We do the green room in the afternoons for everybody on Member Plus and above, and then Friday night is for all members. So great time to upgrade to Member Plus. Therapy Quantified drops a 5-bomb on chat, and that takes us to 13 members on the day. He's like, come on, we can make Lono play the scary game tonight. 13 members already. Nice start. It's your birthday? Well, let's get some happy birthday wishes in the chat for Dahlia. Got any coffee mugs for sale? Right now, the merch is on hold. We do have merch, but because we switched everything back to our own website, we got to reconnect everything with our provider that makes the merch. Anybody see Tom Warren's tweet about the FTC getting involved with new Game Pass changes? Yes, the FTC, I'm not going to try to quote them directly, but from what I have seen, they are arguing both that the service has been degraded because certain tiers are not getting Call of Duty now. You know, that was one of the big contentious points of their case, as well as the price increase when they were told that there would not be a price increase because of ABK. So, you know, Microsoft's going to probably win the appeal. They'll be able to argue inflation. They'll be able to argue that the market's raising prices on subs, so that they'll probably be able to, I think, rather successfully argue that Game Pass is not going up because of the ABK deal. I think that they'll win. I don't think the FTC will win. I think they will once again lose. Silent Spartan with 10 months. The PS5 Pro has to come out this year, or the benefit of one diminishes as we reach the latter stages of the generation. Well, and that does count. That bumps the line to 14. Oops, that bumps the line to 14 members on the day. Thank you so much for doing that. Renewing your VIP. I think that this life cycle of consoles could last longer. So when I heard it was going to be delayed, I was like, oh, that's not that concerning. Maybe they're going to line it up with the GTA 6 release. You know, maybe they are going to extend the life cycle of this console so that, you know, the midway point could be end of this year, early next year, and it will still be basically the midway point, you know, of the console. Transmissions from a spaceboat hits 31 months at a Member Plus, and that puts us at 15 out of 25 members. We're a 10 bomb away from 25. We'll see if anybody takes the bait. Thank you so much, Transmissions from a Spaceboat. The thing the FTC should focus on isn't the price increase, but the middle tier losing day and date. I actually agree with you, Dave. I actually agree with you. If the FTC is going to argue their case, I would ignore the price increase. I don't think the price increase is some smoking gun. It's like, all they're going to do is argue and say that everybody's raising their prices. They're going to be able to demonstrate that in the market. You know what I mean? Asked if it might delay Star Wars Outlaws over negative YouTube comments, Ubisoft says no. I think people will love it. Well, there you go. Continuing to see that. And Alex with the 10 bomb takes the bait and slams it home to 25. The first 25 members of the day. Thank you so much. I owe you guys 5 members. And just like that, we're a fourth of the way there already, guys. Thank you so much, Alex, and everybody else who's been gifting members. And another 5 bomb comes in and takes us to 30. That's a great Agents of Chaos. That's also a 20 bomb setup. Look at that. 30 out of 50. Just begging for somebody to slam home a 20 bomb gifted member bomb. We will see if anybody takes the base. Thank you so much, Belfagor, for dropping a 5 bomb. There's the 5 members that I owe you as well. Zubair says if they honor for people that prepaid, they could change the offer and prices going forward. You aren't locked in. Right. The question would be, Zuby, could you argue that the service is being diminished because of the Activision deal? Like, are consumers getting less value? Silent Spartan with a 5-bomb. We are on a 5-bomb gifted train all of a sudden. Thank you so much, Silent Spartan. Throw your hat in the ring, gift some members to people. If you guys get a gifted member, be sure to say thank you. They can't delay it. Disney likely has a contract. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be able to delay it. No. But I think it's interesting that we're not alone in thinking that Star Wars Outlaws kind of looks diminished. Adam says, let's go. D4 News. What'd you think of the Spiritborn class? Diablo 4 Spiritborn class. What do y'all think? Is it going to bring you back? Make you play? I was seeing some Path of Exile gameplay yesterday. I think that moment-to-moment movement and the action just looks so much better in PoE. I think it just, PoE 2, if they make it very approachable and, you know, more in a lane where like my wife and I could play it, sit on the couch and play it, dude, I will be there. Because I think they nail the moment to moment. The action and the player movement's just phenomenal. All I need to do to fight is one document from before the acquisition that shows that they were contemplating doing this anyway. And a 20-bomb from Silent Spartan. He says, let's go. And let's not just go to 50. Let's go past 50. That's 55 out of 75. That right there is a leapfrog. That takes us past Agent of Chaos style and sets up another 20-bomb dunker. 55 out of 75. Just looking so pretty over there. We'll see if anybody wants to tag team the 20-bomb gifteds with Silent Spartan. Nice strong start to Friday. Thank you guys so much. 100 likes on the video and already a ton of members. Gaming news this week. We want to do this segment every Friday with you, and if you guys like it, throw your support behind this. Make sure you're here every Friday morning, smashing like, talking, and doing all the things. It enables us to cover a lot more topics, and I hope that you guys enjoy that. You can kind of come in and just ask me about stuff that's been going on. They could fix the Game Pass thing by just putting the old COD, couldn't they? Well, no. The argument would be that because of Activision Blizzard, you're diminishing the service that consumers were getting. They're no longer getting day and date on those tiers. I don't think they can win, by the way. I don't think the FTC has a strong enough case. I think Xbox can demonstrate that the market's raising prices on subservice, and they could also demonstrate that they are still getting a valuable product, a quality product, and they merely have to upgrade if they want to retain some of those value points. I mean, I don't think so. I don't think the FTC has a case. I don't. The FTC has a point. They raised the price and changed Game Pass while Xbox promised not to change anything. We'd have to go back and look at the verbiage, you know? Alex bumps the line by 5 and takes us all the way to 60 out of 75. Thank you so much, Alex. Little bit of a member train this morning for Friday, helping us bounce back. I took a week off. The member count dropped a lot, and you guys are helping us put it right back up on the horse. Thank you so much. That happens whenever I take a break. So no fear, no concern or worry. We're back here doing what we always do. Thank you to everybody who supported that Star Wars Outlaws video yesterday. Holy cow. One of my best performing uploads that I have ever done. So thank you. Diminishing would be forcing people onto standard. And a 10-bomb from Noah. Everybody throwing their hat in the ring this morning and pushing the line. They want to see me play this scary game. I don't know. The stretch goal might be easy to hit now. We will see. Everybody. Toxic Generosity, Zubair says. You guys keep hijacking the chat, and Zubair's not having it. Victor says, I thought the new class in Diablo 4 comes with the DLC. But there's a short season 5 starting on August the 5th. Oh, there is? I didn't even get to watch it. I heard people saying they really like the Spiritborn class. It's like Diablo 4 Spiritborn is what they're calling it. The class itself, I'm sorry. Lisa says, thanks for the gifted. Hey, congrats on getting the gifted. If you guys got a gifted member, be sure to say thank you in the chat to the people that are gifting it. Also, if you want to be included on everything we do on the channel, bump up to Member Plus. It's only $1 more. And then every month you renew, you can move the member goal. You don't have to rely on those gifteds. Belphegor with the 5-bomb takes us to 75. There it is. I owe you guys 10 right now. Zinthos is going to move the line. That's an Agent of Chaos renewal right there. VIP for 34 months. That right there is a great reason to upgrade. You can bump the line just by renewing and celebrating. He says almost 3 years. Hope you and the fam are well. Thank you so much, Zinthos. Season 5 is 2 months, and Season 6 and the expansion start in October. Oh, okay. What was that when the Spiritborn is landing? I didn't get a chance to watch it. I was busy last night. And John Lepkowski gifts one as well and takes us to 77 members on the day. Thank you so much, John. It's like a monk druid class. I remember really liking the monk in Diablo 3. That was the first class I chose. Now, sadly, I came back to Diablo 3 after a break for a while, and my account had been hacked, and it was such a bummer, that stupid auction house. Anyway, I came back, and character was basically gone. I recovered my account, but the monk was gone. I don't know what happened to him, you know. It feels like they repurposed the druid class. Oh, you're saying that you think the Spiritborn class, you feel like they just kind of repurposed the Druid class. And Parasito bumps the line to 78 with his VIP renewal. And then a 5-bomb comes in from Wired Rope and takes us to 83. Parasito says 20 months for 20 out of 10 stars for this show. My man. Thank you so much. Right now, I owe you guys 10 members. Hold me to that. You guys are going too fast. I can't even do the gifted members that I owe you. Happy Friday, says Wired Rope. Corporations are not your friends. They're not. They are not. I don't know if they're your enemy either, but they're certainly not your friends. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Take a quick second. Smash the like button. If you haven't hit the like button already, smash that like button. And we are covering all the gaming news this week. If we're talking about something that you're not interested in, ask me about something else. I'm spinning 18 different plates right now. I can manage multiple topics. You get to move from Eagles, Jaguar, Centipede, Gorilla. Oh, you get moves from the... Oh, okay. Okay. I might have to check that out. Duke Delicious says, thanks for the gifted. Can't see who. Mail doesn't say. Well, good to see you, Duke Delicious. One of the best names on the platform. Glad to see you and glad you got your gifted. It's basically the Diablo 3 Witch Doctor, but summoning pets. People are begging for Crusader Paladin. I like summoning. Like, I'm going to be real with y'all. I was vibing with the Druid, but I would much rather summon. Here's my question, though. Right? This Week in Gaming, more like This Week in Gifted Subs. That's right. I was hoping they would bring back Paladin Crusader, as you say it. Yeah, someone in chat's bringing that up, Sven. I mean, have they changed anything with the skill trees? Right? Are the skill trees very much so like a linear endeavor? I did not like the design of the skill trees in Diablo 4. I liked Diablo 3 skill trees and the rune system significantly more. All I wanted to do was play college football after work last night, and I was just sitting there in a shambles all night with Xbox being down. First world problems are the best. Yeah, I mean, airlines are having trouble, city-wide issues, company-wide issues, global issues because of that cloud strike thing that happened. Will you watch the new Star Wars Outlaws video? Yeah, we can check that out. That goes live in about 2 hours. They're going to be checking out one of the new planets. Apparently, it's like African-inspired, so it's going to look more like the plains of Africa. So I'm interested to see. I did not get a chance to try Flintlock. No, I booted The Last of Us Part 2 back up, and oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I actually have criticisms, but I have high praise as well. The emergent combat in that game is not talked about enough. Really. It's not talked about enough. The emergent combat and the way things can go is just, I think it might be one of the best real world. It gives you a sense of actual real world combat. Like, this is what it would be like. This is how it would feel. This is how it would flow. Obviously, it's a video game, so you can't get shot multiple times. And you're healing yourself with bandages. But yeah, I do have some criticisms, though. The question, is it worth $40 to $90? That's always the question. That's the question about Concord. Concord had its closed beta. Now it's having its open beta numbers don't look that impressive for something that costs $0 to play right now. And yeah, I don't know. Is anybody going to spend $40 when right now, you know, it's cost nothing to play it, and the Steam numbers just did not look very good, you know? Flintlock, ain't nobody got time for bad games. There's too many to play nowadays. I had people in the Discord last night saying they were enjoying Flintlock, so what type of criticisms? I don't think flashbacks make for good gameplay. I'll just say it. I don't think flashbacks makes for good gameplay. Just show me a dadgum cutscene. You know? That's you could call it a personal preference. Whatever you want to call it, you know? I don't like the idea. I think that is a pacing decision, is one that I'm critical of. You know? It's one that I'm critical of. Oh, we're going to do this really significant thing. You're like, oh my gosh. And they're like, yeah, and we're going to keep making you go back and go through flashbacks. It's like, what? Making me heal, making me fight, and it is a flashback. It's like, what? I don't get the sense of, like, survival, scavenge, grab stuff, don't die, conserve your ammo, conserve your materials. I don't get that feeling when you keep ripping me out of the game and making me do that. I don't enjoy it. Like, why are we breaking the gameplay down to basic in the middle of the game? Yeah, and why are you making success or failure inconsequential? I could play one of those sections terribly or really well, and it doesn't matter. I could waste all my resources, waste all my ammo, waste all my healing, and it doesn't matter. I don't like it. I think the pacing, I think it hurts the pacing. I think it hurts the sense of investment. I don't like it. So, I like what they show. I like the story, but I think as a gameplay mechanic, I'm like, this is stupid. What are you doing? Is there a new planet built specifically for this game? I guess it's being introduced into this game, into canon. Yeah, so Tashara is what they're going to show later in Star Wars Outlaws. And it is a moon in the Star Wars universe and a setting in the game of Star Wars Outlaws. Ubisoft's massive development. They developed Tashara as a haven for outlaws in the underworld. Players can travel across on a speeder, and some describe the planet as a savanna. Yeah, so that's what they're going to show today at noon Eastern. Joker Quinn with a gifted member. He's like, boys, why are the members slowing down? And he bumps the line to 84. Thank you, Joker Quinn. Poking the line. I think a flashback could work as gameplay if it's a character that you can't play or haven't physically seen. Like if we got to play as Kratos' wife and fought Thor to explain some of the backstory. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Here, I call it self-indulgent. It's like if you do it once, okay. You're doing it multiple times now. And I'm like, this is self-indulgent, man. Let me play with the character I'm playing with. You know, in the time that I'm playing. That's all. It's a minor criticism. It's not a major criticism for me. The game is still phenomenal. But I think from a pacing perspective, it's stupid. It's like, what the frick are we doing here? Just show me the cutscene. You know, make it a dream sequence where I'm like, you know, sleeping and resting for the next day, and I get to see something that happened back then. Don't make me play through it. Reminds me of Cyberpunk telling you at the beginning of the game that you're going to die soon. It kind of ruined the story. Whole game's out of order. Yeah, the non-linear, I think it hurts it. I do. I think it hurts it because you don't, you have that linear punch in the first game, and I just think it's better. Yo, Stone Spire gifts a member and takes us to 85. Thank you so much. I'm curious how many of you guys are playing Concord. You know? Like, how many of you are playing? And Rissick gifts a member. We got a little single train going here. Joker Quinn, now Stone Spire, now Rissick, taking us to 86 members on the day. Thank you so much. If you don't care about multiplayer, what are you guys talking about? Let's see here. You're doing Game Pass wrong. Kumi says, I didn't miss the point. Things are rapidly changing with the economy. It's always been, if you're not on Game Pass Ultimate, you're doing Game Pass wrong. I mean, I don't agree with that, Kumi. I don't agree with that. to tell an entire percentage of Game Pass subscribers that they're doing Game Pass wrong, well, then why even offer the tier? If you don't care about multiplayer games, if you don't care about online, the standard console Game Pass offering is a great deal. You get day and date games, you get a steady flow of games, and that's it. That's all you're paying for. That's not a bad deal at all. For a free beta, only getting 2.3 thousand peak on Steam yesterday is not a good sign. If it doesn't get a lot more this weekend, I think that they should delay the game or it'll be DOA. I don't think delaying it'll even help it. Mick D09 renews for 30 months. That's a VIP. Member Plus and VIP renewals get added to the total, so that takes us to 87. I owe you guys 10. I'm going to do it now. It's been a minute. You guys have slowed down a little bit, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I'm going to do the 10 that I owe. There it is. I can't see chat while that's happening. There we go. Concord's fun, but not worth 40. And Rissick gifts a member and takes us to 88. Thank you so much, Rissick. I don't think Concord's trash. I think the price point's going to turn folks off. I think what keeps getting lost in the conversation about Concord is that it's not trash, but it's also not exceptional either. You see the problem? It's like, it's not trash, but it's not exceptional. It's just a game. It's just another game. It's like, okay, cool. You guys did a good job. But that's about all we can say. That's about all I can say. I just don't see it having legs. It's not bad. It's not trash. There's no glaring flaws in the design. I mean, you could argue the lack of ultimates in a hero shooter is a glaring design flaw, but I'm not willing to say that because you got to let the hero shooter guys weigh in. They would be able to say more than me. And a 5-bomb from Alex takes us to 93. Thank you so much, Alex, bumping us that close to 100. Would Concord with ultimates be better? I think it would certainly feel a whole lot more like a hero-based game instead of a gun-based game. I'm telling you, I don't care if you're playing games or watching people play games and you see people playing tactically. I'm telling you right now, you're watching higher level play. Most of the player pool ain't going to do that. We all know. We all know what happens in these games. People will reduce it down to its most efficient parts. And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's happening in many of the games that I played, or many of the games that I saw. And a single from Rissick. Thank you so much, Rissick, for gifting a member, taking us to 94. Some characters take forever to reload. Right, but with the way that you can sort of inherit the previous buff or benefit from another character, that's another thing that I find strange about the game. Pick somebody with fast reload and then pick the character with slow reload next and you'll inherit the fast reload. It's like, what? If the best thing you can say about Concord is that it's similar to Destiny PvP, I'm out. You guys can have that dumpster fire. I wish Concord had PvE. I don't feel satisfaction when I'm winning matches. It's just, okay, I won. You need something to turn the tide? Concord, Jim Ryan Legacy? I mean, if you want to lay that at Jim Ryan's feet, I think it's fair because they went and bought the studio after seeing Concord. And what did I say earlier? I said, if you're going to chase a trend, you better be prepared for that to not be popular by the time your game comes to market. So when Jim Ryan or whoever he tasked with like assessing the quality of what Firewalk was doing, at that point in time, it might have seemed like a great idea. It might have seemed like a game that was going to be a hit. Who knows when that was? 4 years ago? In 2020 and 2019, would we have felt differently? Maybe. I don't know. We're sitting under the shadow of a battle royale dominated landscape. Like, that's really changed what people think and what people want. And, you know, we've had other games try to do Arena and have failed, tried to bring back Arena and have failed. Like, I just don't know. I think it's fair to lay Concord at his feet and be like, Jim, you misfired on this one. VIP renewal from Patrick. Okay, I got mine. You can ban all the gold badges now. That's 95 out of 100. Who's going to slam us home to 100 members with a 5-bomb? It's a race. Let's see who can pull it off first. Gameplay feels amazing, dare I say better than Destiny. My big issue is how the devs aren't responding to all the weird decisions outlined in SkillUp's video. I'll tell you why they're not responding. They don't know. They don't know how to respond to that. It was their way of trying to innovate on the hero shooter. That's what they were trying to do. You know, they were trying to innovate. It's that simple. And Kingslayer slams it home. He wins. 5 members gifted, and it bumps us to 100 members on the day. And Risic is the agent of chaos and blasts us past to 101. Thank you so much. And another one comes in from Therapy Quantified. Thank you so much, Therapy Quantified. Let's see, where does that put us? What did you guys need? Whoops. 158. Okay. So, plus 102. You are currently at 494. You're 6 away from the weekly goal. 6 members away. So that would mean 208's the stretch. 108 is it. You've gotten it. When we hit 108, 208 would be the stretch goal. Helldivers 2 on Xbox with crossover ODST season would be fire. Yeah, I don't see PlayStation doing that. Putting it on Xbox would be one thing. Doing a crossover with ODST is probably out of the question. Great to see you back, says Dr. Killshot. Been a crazy 2 weeks in gaming. Expecting ex-Bungie devs to respond is like asking a giraffe to mind their business ceiling when he steps inside of a room. And a single gifted from Stonespire takes us to 103. Thank you so much. I don't even know what you're saying. She's back. And a single from Alex takes us to 104. Thank you very much. Mr. Alex. And Zinthos takes us to 105. Is Helldivers dead already? I don't think Helldivers 2 is dead. I think they're going to have to rethink how they add content. I don't think war bonds and war table updates are enough anymore. You got to do something more significant. You got to have game-changing events. And I don't know if that's something that they can do right now. Have you talked about or looked into Throne and Liberty? Reminds me of Aeon literally pulled assets from the game, but still figuring out if I like it. Okay, so Force Gaming, I really trust Force Gaming. I think he's got good content. I think he's really got good insight into games. And he says it just doesn't feel good to play Throne and Liberty. So, like, that to me, that's a huge red flag if he's saying that. I'm like, oh, I'm not really an MMO guy. I need the MMO to be casual. Like when New World hits console, I may dive in head first and really play it a bunch, you know. But I can't play an MMO as MMOs commonly ask you to play them. Throne and Liberty is 100% going to be pay to progress. Helldivers 2 has 20,000 concurrent players on Steam. Yeah, that's pretty low, you know. I think once you drop below 100,000 concurrents, your peak, I mean, if your peak can't even hit 100,000, that's worrisome. It's like, okay, that shows a pretty sharp decline, you know, that shows a pretty sharp decline in interest and engagement, and that's worrisome. It's like, because you need matchmaking to go well, you need people in the funnel. And a single gifted comes in from Patrick and takes us to 106. Thank you so much, Patrick. So there were other news stories this week as well. You know, if there's other things you guys want to talk about, just ask me. Throw it out there. You know, we're talking Concord, but there was, you know, Light No Fire and No Man's Sky kind of getting interwoven together. Space Marine 2, Star Wars Outlaws gameplay, Splitgate 2 announcement, the Flintlock reviews, the Dungeons of Hinterberg reviews. The PS5 Pro is getting delayed. No, it's not. 20,000 is low. I don't think 20,000 is low. I think once your peaks, right? Once your peaks drop below 100,000, I think that's concerning. Diablo only has 7,000. Do you have to install Diablo 4 on Steam now? Alex gifts another member and takes us to 107. One away from the weekly goal. Do you have to play, or can you still play it through the Blizzard launcher? Yeah, Diablo 4 has never hit more than 39,000 peak on Steam charts. I don't think you can use Diablo 4 as an example. Helldivers 2 exploded on Steam. So, you know, you want to think, why did player disinterest happen so fast? Diablo 4 is on Battle.net. Yeah, you don't need, like, if you want to play Helldivers 2 on PC, you have to play it on Steam, right? So that's a terrible comparison. I always tried to like Helldivers 2, but every time I tried, they would nerf the weapons that you were using. We got to shift to something else. Alex brings it home. 108. That's it. You guys did it. That's 500 members on the week. I got to play a scary game tonight. We can pick that out in the green room with the members later. We'll find a good game for me to play tonight. If this goes up to 208, the stretch goal is always another 100. And if you do that, then Madam is allowed to mess with me when I play the scary game. So that's the goal that you guys have left on the week. You guys already crushed the weekly goal. Helldivers 2 balance philosophy was weird. All they needed to do was make guns feel good. Right. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. You know, I think in general, balance, if you're trying to seek out balance in a game, I think it's a fool's errand. I think you accept that there is no balance. Like, I do. I feel like developers need to see that there is no spoon. There is no spoon. There is no balance. You just always make certain things really, really strong and then shift it a couple months later. Everyone went from Helldivers to the First Ascendant and Once Human. Maybe. That probably accounts for some of the drop, but not all of it. At least Steam lets you launch stuff without needing to log in to Xbox, which you can't do when Microsoft continues to make bad decisions. What are you talking about, Parasito? Everyone hit the like button. Yeah, let's set our sights on 200 likes. Nice, strong turnout, guys. It's Friday. Today is a segment we call Gaming News This Week. You can ask me about anything that happened this week or any rumors or things going on, and we'll talk about it. We're constantly switching subjects on Friday, so it's ever changing. No, I've not seen the gameplay of Quiet Place. When that comes out, you got to play it with Madam. Nice. It did its purpose. Quick fun. Dropped in after 2 weeks. Don't regret buying. I would definitely agree that the First Ascendant kicked Helldivers 2 right in the balls. I mean, let's see here. Helldivers 2 Steam charts. When did the First Ascendant come out? When did it come out? Let's see. It's like a week ago. 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago? First Ascendant release date was... All right, July the 2nd. If we go back to a month here, prior to July 2nd, Helldivers was hitting around 40 to 50,000 player peaks. And now, after July 2nd, their player peaks dropped into the 20s and 30s. I would say, yeah, that I don't know if I would say kicked it in the balls, but I would certainly say it definitely pushed on an already happening decline. Right? B hits 11 months, and that's a VIP, and VIPs and member pluses when you renew count. Now you only need 99 more members for the stretch goal. Thank you so much, B. Helldivers 2 fell off. Right, it fell off way before, but you can certainly see after July, literally, here, let me just show you. Right? So here's July 1st and 2nd. All right, look right before. See right here to here. So June 24th to here. They're maintaining 40 to 50,000 player peaks. And then as soon as First Ascendant comes out, look at this. It drops right into here. It kind of recovers and then just continues down. So again, I'm not saying the First Ascendant did anything that it was already happening, right? There was already a decline going on. You go 3 months and you can see it's just a steady decline from April back here all the way down. But it's clear that one other live service game coming out can certainly affect another. You know? Low Life King with 39 months of membership. That's a lot of membership, and that moves the member line for the day to 110. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's even a solution. I just think that's going to happen to live service games. They're always going to have a downward trajectory. I don't know how you avoid it. I don't know how you avoid it, man. You're always going to have people saying, "Hey, you know, I'm bored. I've played enough. I've seen enough." You know. Parasita says global outages happening with Windows server-based systems because of security software that's just been pushed out horribly overnight. Affected systems are getting blue screen boot looping. The issue has gotten as bad as to force airlines to issue global ground stops. Yeah. We are aware of that. It seemingly hasn't affected YouTube. The First Ascendant allows you to be OPAF. My builds aren't even close to being as good as they can be, and I'm telling you, I melt bosses in seconds. All you have to remember is the First Ascendant was full crossplay, so that probably pulled a lot of crossplay people from Helldivers over as well. They already made bank on the game, and it's not free to play. Yeah, Helldivers 2 did very well financially. You know, the question is, what's the future of that game? What are they going to do? You know? They showed this game called Black State and some gameplay, and honestly, it looks a little too good to be true. I think it's going to release the downgrade when it releases. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. That continues to happen. I'm hyped for Mrs. Freeze. Her gameplay actually looks very enjoyable. What killed Helldivers 2 was the linking to PSN thing. I mean, when they did that, that certainly shoved the numbers down very quickly. Mm-hmm. No transmog's laughable considering how copy-paste all the armor is in Helldivers 2. Yeah, I wish they let you have more control over your... Like, I wish switching your armor didn't necessitate switching perks. You know? Concord looks generic. It says that my audio bitrate... Okay, I must have went quiet for just long enough that it triggered the audio bitrate. It's like, oh, your audio bitrate's too low. Like if you go quiet for too long on stream. That's why my shady shot at Microsoft was 4. They're locking all their games behind mandatory login through Xbox. It's not a very reliable service. I mean, but all these companies are doing that. Xbox is doing it. PlayStation's doing it. They're all doing it. It's not something that just they're doing. Helldivers 2 is too samey all the time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to make a game not samey. You know, whether that's something that, you know, I've been saying about Concord as an arena shooter. That's something that, you know, people talk about a lot with live service games. And it's like, well, it's always the same thing over and over again. It's like, that's kind of the point is... Can you make a content loop that is fun over and over and over and over again, right? Can you do it? Can you create that sort of can you create that loop? It says that the audio bit rates what is going on? YouTube's losing its mind. Yeah, the First Ascendant is samey. Diablo is samey. Destiny is samey. I think anytime you have a game with a content loop that's supposed to be ongoing, it's going to be samey. Like, the thing that I took issue with in the Splitgate 2 announcement interview that they did with PlayStation is they're like, yeah, we want our game. I don't even know how they phrased it. They essentially said like they want their game to last for 10 years. And I'm like, why? Like, I think that's a mistake. I don't think you should be being like, oh, we want our game to last a decade. It's like, well, why don't you just focus on making it 2 years and maybe reassess after 2 years? Let's see if you can manage that first. Let's see if you can manage 6 months before we start talking about 10 years. Once human doesn't have staying power, you think mediocre Milton? It's too easy, it gets repetitive, and the supermajority of the players don't want 6-week seasonal wipes. And the wipe, it'll lose most of its players. Yeah, I think anything seasonal like that, you have to be thoughtful about it. Like, letting people reset for seasonal content is good, but it needs to be additive. It needs to be something optional and additive, not like, oh yeah, your character gets reset. It needs to be something that you don't feel like you have to do. It's kind of tough because, like, No Man's Sky does it in a way that I think works, but the way that Diablo 4 was doing it felt worse. It was like, oh, so you're building brand new content, mechanics, and stuff that I can't interact with unless I make a seasonal character. Which No Man's Sky is doing the same thing. I don't know why it registers as different in my mind. I think it registers different in my mind because, like, when you're playing Diablo 4 and you're like, okay, I have this character that I've invested in, I've leveled up, I did all these things, I'd like to take them into the new content, I'd like to take them into the new stuff. It's not quite the same as, like, in No Man's Sky, when you do an expedition, you're mainly just kind of going through the main core motions of the game to get fun rewards at the end. It's not like a brand new content loop or a brand new mechanic or brand new story. I mean, it is and it isn't. I don't know why. That could just be a bias that I have. For some reason, the idea of, like in Diablo 4, I was like, well, what if I want to engage with the seasonal content just with my character and I don't want to make a new character? I don't know. You play ARPGs, Diablo 4 and PoE news yesterday seems substantive. PoE continues to look better and better. Like, every time I look at that game, I'm hoping that PoE 2 can land in a way where someone like me can play it. Like, I'm just very casual at this point in my life. I'm not trying to min-max. I'm not trying to, check all these different numbers and stats. That's just not something I want to do when I play a game. In No Man's Sky, you only have to get through the new story, and then you can take it to your old character right away. Right. But again, my issue in Diablo was like, well, what if I want to play the new content with my character, the character that I've already invested in? Yeah, I know. PoE is like that as well. I know. I don't know why my brain trips up on it quicker. Maybe because I played a lot of Diablo 2 and 3, and I get more attached to the character. And in No Man's Sky, I didn't really feel attached to the character because, the character feels more like a means to an end. Like, okay, I've got my ship, I've got my materials, I've got the stuff that I built. And then if you do an expedition character, you're mainly doing that to get stuff for your main character. I think that's where it feels different. I'm trying to figure out why it's different in my mind. I don't honestly know. Again, it just could be some kind of a bias where I look at Diablo as a game type. Maybe I look at it differently than I do like a No Man's Sky. Maybe I don't feel like I'm as character centric when I'm playing No Man's Sky, and I feel like it is very character centric to make a character and grind in a game like Diablo. It's possible. I owe you guys 5 members for hitting 100. I'm going to do that right now that I'm thinking about it. The No Man's Sky update makes me want to play Light No Fire even more. Yeah, some people were theorizing that they took technology right out of Light No Fire and put it in a No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky does the seasonal character thing the right way. The expedition is a tutorial into everything new, and then you take that knowledge to your main. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of reasons why I probably like it more, and that could be one of them. You don't have a character in No Man's Sky, you are the character. Yeah, I think there's a difference. I do. I don't think No Man's Sky feels character-centric the way that Diablo does. It's loot that keeps me engaged and ladder resets. The content doesn't matter to me as I've played Diablo 2 for 24 years without updates apart from Resurrected. Yet even the game is being abandoned. Even that game is being abandoned lately. Well, I mean, it's probably time, right? It's probably time. In Diablo, you don't get to keep any of the things you get. No Man's Sky, you get to keep everything you work for. Yeah, I could see that being another reason why, like, mentally I disconnect. Yep. Light No Fire is going to be Hello Games Lessons Learned, and it's going to be a clean code base. They might be trying to test tech at scale before rolling it out in the new title. Right. It's funny because I was saying, Parasito, that if you compare the two games' art styles, No Man's Sky is not as rooted in reality. It's more stylized, but with the latest update, it feels like it's closer. It's not quite as rooted in reality as as Light No Fire. Like Light No Fire, the trees, the mountains, the grass, the bushes, the water, it all has like more of a real world feel to it, you know? So, I think they're probably bringing some of that technology into No Man's Sky. In Diablo 4, your character transfers to the Eternal Realm at the end of the season with all the gear, but you do need to create a new character for each season, which you do the same thing. You create a brand new save for an expedition in No Man's Sky. So, yeah, you get to keep everything in Diablo. They just go into the Eternal Realm. Like I said, I don't know. It could quite literally just be some kind of a bias that I have a blind spot to. Maybe I come to Diablo with different expectations. Maybe I get more attached to my character. Maybe I get more attached to that character's, playstyle and gear. And I want, and I want to be able to take that character into new content. It's possible. Like, I don't feel a connection necessarily to my my No Man's Sky character. You get to keep the gear, but the powers are gone. The season mechanic's gone. I think that's fine. I don't think it's that big of a deal that the mechanic goes away. That gives you the ability to do something really crazy with the season and then take it away. The seasonal wipes make it easier to balance the game. If you keep everything between seasons, you get stronger and stronger, and it makes balance much harder. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it's fine. It would have been fun to take a really, really strong, highly invested character into a seasonal, mechanic, into a seasonal grind. I think that would have been fun. Anyone else super excited for Dredge, the rig next month? Dredge was super underrated. What kind of a game is Dredge? Flintlock has a peak of 648 players. Sounds like a great game. Well, I don't think we always want to look at player pool numbers or player-based numbers as a sign of success or health, because sometimes it's a smaller game and a smaller game, it's okay if that smaller game pulls, you know, pulls less players. That is pretty low, though. 648 players is pretty low. What's the benefit for your main, says Eugene. Yeah, what's the benefit to your main character in what's the benefit to your main character in Diablo? You get like seasonal rewards and stuff to hand to them, right? Like cosmetics and stuff, I'm assuming. How many does Hinterberg have? Dungeons of Hinterberg's an even smaller game, though, I would think, right? Dungeons of Hinterberg Steam charts. Again, I don't think games like this need to have crazy player numbers. 233 for Dungeons of Hinterberg. Currently on Steam, Dungeons has a 93%. Has anybody played Dungeons of Hinterberg? I thought the combat looked a little clunky in the latest gameplay deep dive that they did. I thought it looked a little clunky. So. Oh. Diablo 4 obsoletes old gear a lot. Purchased Banishers Ghosts of New Eden recently. All I have to say is the story is excellent. Yes, the story in Banishers is quite good. I thought that the combat was very clunky and it got to the point where it was unenjoyable. Like, I genuinely felt like the combat could have been... It could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. Like, I felt like they should have focused on making the combat better. It should have had more fluidity because it was so stylized, and what you're doing, that was like one of the centerpieces of all of the earlier marketing. All of the earlier marketing, all the first pieces of gameplay that we got to see, it was like, oh man, this is going to be awesome. This is going to feel great. This is going to look great. This is going to look great. But then when you play it, it's just like, real clunky, real... I feel like they they stress going cinematic and like doing presentations so much that it makes for a lot of like halting moments in the gameplay. So, yeah, the FTC blasts Microsoft new degraded Xbox Game Pass standards here, as well as the price increases. Yeah, FTC's trying to go after him again. I don't think that I don't think they'll make it. I don't think they'll win. Unless of course Microsoft has already reached a point where they want to do some type of divestiture or something. Really? More inconsistent performances? What are you talking about, Patrick? Oh, Flintlock performance is not that good. It stutters a lot. Oh, I thought you were talking to me. Yeah, I heard that Flintlock also had clunky combat and also that it had some performance issues. Yeah. Every subsurface has and is increasing their prices. The way Game Pass gets singled out and can't increase. I definitely agree that there's no real reason to single them out for the price increases. I think there are legitimate complaints about day and date shifting and changing after all of the marketing they've done all this time. AM Melee renews their membership and it's a VIP, so all member pluses and VIPs move the line. That moves us to 111. Thank you so much for doing that. Guys, take a quick second and smash the like button. We're almost 1 hour into the broadcast. This is a fun segment that we get to do on Fridays. Bring up any gaming news from the week. Ask me what I think about it. We'll bat the ball around. Gaming news this week is something I'd love to do every Friday with you. Let's hit 200 likes before we hit an hour on the broadcast. That's really, really helpful. It helps more people find out it helps more people find the video, find our great community of people gifting members. We've already had 111 new members today, which means I've already gifted the 20 that I owe you. You had hopes for Flintlock? I had people saying they had perfectly fine time with it. You know? I've had people say they're having a perfectly fine time with Flintlock. They're enjoying it. They're having fun. I don't want to write that game off. Just I would go into it with your eyes wide open. Expect more of a 7 out of 10 game, more of a middling, more mid-range game than anything. Microsoft will probably just argue that people who are on the standard tier will still get day and date until they let it lapse, so no one's really losing anything. Yeah, I think they could successfully argue that. I also think the FTC could push back and say, hey, you're removing choice from the consumer. You gave them these options and these choices before. Now, per the merger, you're taking those choices away. I don't think the FTC will win that argument. I don't. I like Flintlock, appears to be mid-70s. Microsoft is targeted because they are a $3 trillion in value company and they buy market power for a living. Yeah, that's probably fair pushback as to why, they get quote unquote singled out. Like, the constant victim mentality of people who defend Xbox and Microsoft. It's like there's going to be a greater level of scrutiny when you do the largest acquisition in gaming history. And in the wake of that acquisition, you're closing studios, canceling projects, laying people off, and changing the fundamentals of your value proposition with Game Pass. Like, yeah, I would say that warrants scrutiny and potential criticism, If it's like when Disney did a lot of their buyouts and started buying things up, and then what they do, they started hurting some of the property that they own. They're raising their prices. Like, if Disney did some unprecedented acquisition right now and it hurt, and we felt like it hurt things, like studios and projects got canceled, and they raised their prices, and they made Disney Plus standard tier not as good, and they made a premium tier. Like, I think they would be just as deserving as the scrutiny. These companies like Amazon, Google, Disney, all these companies this size, when they do these types of things, I think it's totally fair for people to be critical. And they also open a massive studio. Which studio are you referring to? I feel like every game released now has a super focused microscope taken to it. I get it. It's this generation. Standards are extremely high, maybe too high for every single game. No, I'll tell you what it is, Patrick. It's because you can market a game like Flintlock and you can make it look like a AAA game. Like, if you go look at the trailers for Flintlock and you go look at the gameplay and how they showcased it, it doesn't seem like some scrappy little, more AA title. It seems like a big budget title. It seems like it's going to be amazing. I think that's part of the problem, is like the line is blurring between like scrappy little indie or AA title and mainstream, mainstream AAA games. Like, I think the line's starting to blur. So it can be very easy for some people like, well, that game sucked. And it's like, well, you should have expected it to be more in the middle. I've continued to say that I think a lot of these companies would save themselves a lot of headache if they'd start charging lower amounts. If you're some big budget AAA title, sure, charge $70. I think these other companies should consider charging like $50 or $60. And that sets expectations from the beginning that, oh, this is more of a smaller budget, smaller game. And that would maybe lower expectations and you'd get better review scores. I think people would be more generous to a more mid-lane quality game if it was like $50. You know, I don't know. How much are they charging for Flintlock? Flintlock PlayStation Store. How much are they charging for it? Is it 70 or is it lower? Oh, it's 40. Yeah, I mean that should be helping it. It is. It's $40. It has a 4.3 on PlayStation, by the way. That's not a bad score. That's an 86. I feel like Flintlock is getting a good score. I don't know why the review outlets are hurting it so bad. It has a perfectly fine score on PlayStation. It has a 4.3. And then it has, what does it have on Steam? That's probably protecting it. Honestly, that's probably protecting it from the score being lower. If that was like a full price game, see, then that to me, I guess I want to kind of change what I'm saying. I kind of want to scold the users. It's like, it's a $40 game. You should expect a more mid-level quality game. It's $40. You should expect something that feels more like an indie or a AA game. It's got a 75% on Steam. I do know people were saying there's some performance issues on Steam, so maybe that's why its score is lower on Steam than PlayStation. It also has kind of that PlayStation third-person action-adventure look and feel, so it might be faring better on PlayStation just because the audience there is more receptive or, you know, has more of an affinity for these types of games. I don't know. It's got a really bad score on Xbox for some reason. Game Pass probably isn't helping. Lies of P, its lowest score is on Xbox as well, and you know that could be an issue with the fact that it's easier for people to buy the game, play for 10 minutes, and give it a bad score. Game Pass allows you to buy the game and not do anything with it. Who trusts these outlets? I think some of these outlets do a perfectly fine job assessing a game's quality. I think it's always better to go to user score. I've said that for a long time. I think the Steam user score and the Xbox and the PlayStation user scores, I think those are the most reliable. I think what makes them harder to rely on is when a game hits Game Pass, because you get a bunch of people lowering the score who played the game for 5 minutes. Right? How many people downloaded Lies of P through Game Pass and died to that first area and had to go all the way back to the beginning and said F this and gave it a bad score and uninstalled because they're not a Souls fan? Right? I don't think it's got bad optimization on Xbox. I'm serious. I think whenever a game hits Game Pass, its score is going to be lower on Xbox by sheer volume of players who aren't playing the game for more than 5 to 10 minutes. Gamers are fickle. Gamers are quick. This is why it's good that Steam doesn't count refunds in the score, because you could play a perfectly fine game on Steam and then be like, it's not for me, I don't like these types of games, and you refund it. Well, you don't want people who bought a Rogue or a Souls game lowering your game's score because they bought a game that isn't for them. Problem is, Sweet Baby Inc. had their hands on it right now. People don't trust games that they have done. I mean, if people are just going to go and lower the score of a game because some YouTuber told them that Sweet Baby Inc. touched the game, I don't have any respect for people like that. That's watch the game, watch people play it on stream, watch people play it on Twitch or YouTube, or you know, download it yourself, buy it on Steam, and if you don't like it, refund it. But you know, to go download the game or to go lower the score of the game and just basically give it a low score on, if that's what's happening, that's stupid. That's not a reason to give it a low score. I've not seen any evidence that that game has had its design choices or artistic choices or creative choices affected by, you know, Sweet Baby Inc. has become the boogeyman of the gaming industry. It's become the boogeyman of the gaming industry. It's like, come on. Like, the people that say that's why Justice League failed, you're stupid. I can't say it any other way. That's an uneducated, ignorant conclusion. Like, Kill the Justice League has like 1,000 problems with its live service format, its repetitious combat, its cookie cutter encounters, its copy paste environments and mechanics. Like, there's 1,000 things to criticize in that game, but everybody's upset because there's a pride flag in the Hall of Justice. It's like, yeah, if you delete that flag, the game suddenly gets 1,000 times better. Oh, wait, it doesn't. There are actual core design flaws for a live service game, right? I stand by what I originally said. I think that game's core gameplay is better than the 4s and 5s that it got from people. It's not a disaster. It's just a bad live service game. It's not a good live service game. The endgame isn't designed well. It's Anthem all over again. It's like, hey, thoughtful combat. It's fun to play. Nothing on the backside. Like, what the heck is this? It just proves that they didn't know what they were doing. It's another company that tried to do a live service game that has no idea what they're doing. It's why I'm glad that The Last of Us Factions got canceled, because I don't think Naughty Dog knew what they were doing either. So to look at Flintlock and be like, oh, Flintlock, sweet baby stink. And it's like, what? What? There's performance issues on PC. People were saying that the combat was kind of clunky. Those might be reasons that it's getting a low score. But don't go bomb its score because a YouTuber told you that some consulting firm helped. Like, come on. Why is it hard for studios to design good endgame? I mean, there's a whole video series I want to do about this, Parasito. I don't think companies understand how to create scalable endgame. I don't think they know how to do it. To be honest, Destiny didn't know how to do it for the longest time. They had no freaking clue. They were clueless. And evidence of their cluelessness is they tried sunsetting and then they stopped doing sunsetting because they didn't do it right. They didn't know what they were doing. Like, go ask them on the record or off the record, did you guys have a clue on how to do endgame scaling and new loot and new activities and new content? They'd be like, no. We had no idea what we were doing. We just kind of kept going and iterating and trying new things. Even they haven't perfected it, arguably, right? You would even argue that even they haven't perfected it. It's far better. It's far better than it's ever been. But it's like, even they, I don't think companies understand how to do endgame scalability. They don't get it. Evidenced by the most successful format right now is you constantly hit the reset button. Seriously. Look at the most successful formats. They just hit the reset button. They just do seasons. Whether it's Diablo seasons or Path of Exile seasons or the expeditions in No Man's Sky or the seasonal content flow of Destiny, they just reset you, basically. That's the way they have to do it. Because they can't... Ongoing scalability is a dadgum nightmare. What are you going to do? Oh, we gave you stronger stuff. Well, now you got to make the enemy stronger. Now you got your power creep seesaw in full swing. Make the player stronger, make the enemy stronger. Make the player stronger, make the enemy stronger. Well, now you invalidated 80% of the game's content, because if I go back into old content or existing content, or you want to revitalize or reuse content funnels, you're going to have to completely restructure their power structure, because now I'm stronger than I used to be. So what do? They reset you. And the only reason it works is because it works. It doesn't work because it's superior or better. It works because it works. It's like it's the only functional way to give you a new route to run. Is the problem even solvable? I think it is. I think you need thoughtful, lateral, contextual power. I think that's how you do it. I don't think anybody has properly considered or tried lateral, contextual power. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn because Final Fantasy's been going for a long time. World of Warcraft's been going for a long time. Maybe they've tried it and done a good job. I don't know. Maybe they have. You know, AOZ saying, hey, they did well for half a decade, and, you know, now they've introduced power creep. How? Okay, so the premise of lateral contextual power is that you would introduce, and this is something that I think Helldivers needs to do, right? So what I think you do with Helldivers is you create lateral contextual power. You discover a new enemy. That new enemy requires new weapons. That new enemy requires new stratagems. So you create a research terminal in the game to research the enemies. You go fight the enemies with your existing stuff, and it's not as good. Now, you can do lateral contextual power a handful of ways. You could do completely brand new stratagems and weapons that are then stronger in those environments, or you could do augments. Augments would essentially say, hey, we know you like your existing guns, abilities, stratagems. Let's zoom out and not even talk Helldivers. We know you like your existing guns, weapons, abilities, and powers. You can augment them to be more effective in these areas. That requires grind, that creates new strategy, that creates new sense of power and achievement, and it's not power creep. Why? Because it doesn't do anything to the areas that you already have gone into. You could then repurpose those areas. You could say, hey, we're going to help hone your current weapons, abilities, and powers. There's now a new grind in this previous content. And in this previous content, if you go and do this grind, you're going to get these things that then make your weapons augmentable or upgradable or changeable or modifiable. And so you're repurposing the old content by adding new content, but the new content also adds a new purpose for new contextual, new lateral power structure. So what you're doing is you either can keep your original gear, so your original grind has been respected and has now been altered in some way, or you can go and pursue the new abilities, new gear, new power, new weapons, so that if you want that new car smell, you can go and chase it. No one's thought about this. No one's thought about how, well, if you just continually go contextual lateral, you don't deal with power creep, you're able to add new, you're able to add fresh, you're able to update things. It gives you the ability to repurpose the old while adding the new. You don't invalidate the old while adding the new, and you can do that forever. You can do that forever. It's always going to feel new and fresh. You're always going to feel stronger to a degree, like you're stronger, but you're not. But you got new enemies, you got new powers, you got new shields to bust, new armor to break. Like, so you would feel like you are doing the thing that is so compelling. You are overcoming a challenge on the battlefield with your choices, skill, and build. That's what's always so compelling. So like when you go into new content and you're basically still using everything that you used, it doesn't have that same potency. You're like, well, I've already done this. It's just that the enemies are green now. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, you're not giving me a new experience. Same gun, same explosion, same whatever. So that's, I think, always been the issue, is everybody just hits the reset button because it's easier. It's way easier to hit the reset button. Don't be fooled. Everything I just outlined is incredibly complex because let's just say you add lightning and you can go get new lightning weapons, abilities, or augment your existing abilities and weapons with lightning. Buddy, that's complex because now every single weapon's fire rate, damage output, dot damage, AoE damage, all of that now has to be essentially made compatible with whatever this new ability, whatever this new power is. But I think that's the way that you do it. If you want to build an ongoing game, if you want to have elasticity, if you want to have longevity, the way you do it is lateral contextual power. You don't have to deal with power creep. You don't have to reset everybody. You are able to take a character 5 years into the future, and that character's never too strong, never invalidated, never reset. They get to have this persistent, transcendent experience. And when you do that, well, they're never going to leave your game because they feel like they get to kind of live in it and always get better and always get stronger. Destiny pulled this off, but buddy, they were always kind of tricking you. But that's one of the reasons why you got so attached to your Guardian. Why? Well, because your Guardian killed Oryx. But you also beat Wrath of the Machine. Like, you had this sense of, like, this Guardian's been with me forever. But my gosh, were they brilliant at this. Destiny was always resetting you. Always giving you the same gear. Always moving things around. And it was always the same thing. Destiny is Mexican food. I've said this before. If you order... Jim Gaffigan he has a whole bit about this. Mexican food is a tortilla with meat, cheese, and vegetables. Some combination. Whether you get a taco, a burrito, a quesadilla, a fajita, it's always the same. It's the same basic ingredients, right? You want chicken and lettuce and tomato, that's a taco. You want chicken and lettuce and tomato, but you wrap it up, you fry it, you do whatever with it. You just give it a different name, but it's the same basic ingredients. That's what Destiny did for 10 years. They took the same basic ingredients and they would just kind of like shake them up. And it's like, okay, I'm using a pistol, and now this one has some type of a reload perk and some type of a damage perk and some type of a range perk. You had that before, but it looks different. It sounds different. It's handling it a little bit different. And you just got duped into thinking that you were getting something new, and you weren't. They just weren't giving you a taco. They were giving you a burrito. Same ingredients. Very, very similar flavor, but it's shaped a little bit differently. Like, that's why Destiny was so successful. Because you did feel like you were getting something new, pursuing something new, and they never really had to deal with you getting too powerful. Because you were either reset or you were getting a gun that was basically the same as this gun. So it's not like you could take your new raid gun and go into a Striker and Nightfall and go bap, bap, dead, and everything's getting two-shot. It was the same basic damage structure. This is why perks got so boring in Destiny. Because what were you trying to do? You were just trying to maintain damage. That's it. So the two perks you always chased were a reload perk and a damage perk. Why? Well, damage perk helps me do more damage. Reload perk helps me continuing to do more damage. Like, that's all it was. It was a basic equation. So I think what they could have always avoided in Destiny, what could have made Destiny so much better, or what could have made Destiny so significantly better, was lateral contextual power. Lateral contextual power could have changed everything. Oh, Siva shows up? No worries. You can augment your grenade with some Siva destroying black hole. You can augment your existing gun with a Siva mod. Oh, you're tired of that gun? No worries. We got new guns to chase, and that's built in. You see? So you'd encounter Siva and be like, oh, I'm not killing them as fast as I'd like to. Don't worry. During the campaign, you got an augment chip. Augment one of your grenades with the Siva destroyer thing. Okay, and you do that. Now your grenade's more effective. Oh, your gun? You like your gun? You want to keep using your gun? No problem. Just augment it with Siva. Or you can chase a new gun. They could have done this with every new threat. With the Taken, with the Siva, with the Conehead guy, whatever he was. With the Hive. They could have constantly been doing this. And you could just give it a new name every time. It doesn't matter. The Hive found a new power source deep in the center of the moon. And they can now poison the very air around you. Like, who cares? Just make something up. You've got endless lore to tap into. And then you give the player contextual power to beat it more effectively. No power creep. Cardoc ran with 42 months in a VIP. Thank you so much. That takes us to 112 members on the day. So that to me, that's a solution for, the witness guy, the conehead guy, whatever, the big tall head. That's a solution for games like that. That's a solution for Helldivers, by the way. That's a solution for Helldivers. Hey, new enemy. Cool. Your weapons aren't as effective, neither are your stratagems. Oh. Now you could grind this new war bond and get new weapons that come with a latent ability that's stronger against these enemies, or augment your existing stuff. This can't. How has nobody done this? I don't get why nobody's doing this. To me, it seems obvious. I don't know why. I don't know why it seems obvious. Maybe if a developer was sitting here in the room with me, he'd be like, you just outlined something that's impossible, too challenging, too arduous, too difficult. Who knows? Maybe I'm doing Monday morning quarterback. I don't know. Maybe I'm armchair deving right now, and the developer's like, nah, you can't do that. That would be ridiculous. Yo, Jaden renews, and it's a Member Plus. Member Plus and VIP renewals add to the total. That takes us to 113. Odin Arrow with 14 months. Just a quick question. Would you ever play Among Us for community game night? We've tried Among Us for community game nights, and it just really doesn't work because, people cheat. People cheat. Thank you for 14 months, by the way, Odin Arrow. Helldivers 2 doesn't have the talent for live service, and it doesn't look like Sony will ask Bungie to go help them. It's like they're just going to make Helldivers 3. Helldivers 2 is an easy update. Add more enemies or combine 2 enemy types or make a war zone between the 3 factions. Yeah, but here's the problem, Emissary. If you give me new enemy types in Helldivers, you know what's going to happen? Everybody's going to get excited for about maybe a week. Because what are you going to do? You're going to come back. You're going to land on the planet. It's going to feel fresh and new. But then familiarity is going to creep back in. Familiarity breeds contempt. So what's going to happen is you're going to play for maybe a week, and you're going to be using very similar guns. Maybe use the same guns. Maybe use the same stratagems. And you're just seeing different enemies die. You have to feel a sense of power expression that has changed to some degree. You have to feel as if you've been pushed into a corner to strategize and overcome, so that when you win, you feel like you've done something new. If the enemies are just green now, you're not going to feel like you've had a new experience after about a week. That's the ticket. What kept you coming back to Helldivers 2 in the early days? What? You were unlocking new weapons, unlocking new stratagems, so you could what? You could try it out. You have to build a context to where that's happening rhythmically. And how do you do it? Lateral contextual power. If you do lateral contextual power, you are always giving players that sense that they got when the game first came out. New things to try, new things to experiment with, and when they arrive, I'm telling you, when a player does this, when they arrive at a solution or a strategy or a build that feels awesome and strong, buddy, they're going to keep playing. Asmongold talked about this when he reacted to Young Yeah, and Young Yeah came up with the parry build, and it changed an entire fight for him in the Elden Ring DLC. And Asmongold was like, that right there is one of the most satisfying things, when you come up with something and it works really, really well, even if your buddy tells you to try it out, or even if you read something on Twitter or you heard through the grapevine that a certain gun or a certain build was really, really strong, it still feels satisfying because you chose it. If there's no more choice involved, if you're just playing a new planet, if you're just playing a new enemy, and you're not choosing anything, you're just like, well, I'm using the weapons and the stratagems that I've used before, there's no choice anymore. It's just rote and rehearsed. You've just now, it's just a horse of a different color. I'm doing the same thing I did before. It's just the conveyor belt moved, and now the enemies falling from the sky or coming out of the ground are green instead of red. That's the problem. Your brain isn't that easily fooled. You know you're not doing anything new. Parasito says, I feel like a component to the problem is displayed very well with Souls-like titles and things like Warframe. They tell you up front it's going to suck and be a grind instead of hooking you with the loop and then, oh, by the way, this goes away. What goes away, Paris? What are you referring to? Surprised they haven't dropped the vehicles in Helldivers 2 yet. If I were to theorize what Arrowhead's doing, I think they're trying to have a 2.0 moment right now. I think they know they're set financially. The amount of money they sold and made, the profitability of that company and that project, PlayStation's got their back for whatever's next. I think they said, listen, pump the brakes on the war bond, pump the brakes on the update cadence and the changes cadence. We need a 2.0 moment. Let's start building now for it. So I think they're building something that's going to be significant, but it's going to be like out in the future. Not like Helldivers 3. I think they're going to try to like essentially reinvent and rework so much. I think that's what they're working on right now. Because they can. They've got the capital. They've got the money. That game absolutely far exceeded all expectations. So they're perfectly fine. But they've got to figure out a way to bring a good chunk of the player pool back. They've got to figure that out. And you don't do that with, and this is Anthem's problem. Anthem never established what the game was and where the game was going. It was just, okay, sorry, we launched without content. Here's content. Here's content. Here's content. No. You need to reassess what's the identity of the game and what lanes do I need to get in to be successful so that when the content comes out, I can feel a sense of satisfaction and I'm going to go engage. They didn't do that. They were just trying to throw more content at you. And I feel that Helldivers 2 was falling prey to the same problem. Oh, you're bored? Player base numbers are down? No worries, war bond. Month later, no worries, war bond. That's not going to work. You just keep doing that. Eventually that runs out. Everything that runs out of gas. I disagree. I think they defined what the game was and had an identity. The issue was lack of content at endgame. No, I had no idea what kind of game Anthem wanted to be. Was it a looter shooter? Was it a min-max game? The drop rates, they didn't even understand the type of game they wanted to be, Sven. The core tenets of Anthem didn't function properly. If Anthem was a min-maxing game, then the drop rates didn't make any sense. If it was a loot-based game, if it was just a looter shooter, then the drop rates made sense. It had internal contradictions in its philosophy and game design. They didn't know what they wanted to be. I sat in on one of their meetings. They were focused on player feedback and content. And it's like, no. Rip this game down to the studs. What are you building? What is this game? What is it? Is it a min-maxing game? Oh, it is? Well, then your drop rates are stupid. No one's ever going to be able to min-max with your current drop rates. The range of what were they called? Transcriptions or whatever the heck? I'm just calling perks. The range of perks you could get in that game and the percentages, it was unbelievable. They should have been literally just dumping loot on you if it was a min-maxing game. If it's not a min-maxing game and it was more of a loot-based game, loot abilities-based game, well, then they needed to completely retool the entire weapon system and how you got strong. I think the mods that apply to your builds was going to turn into a min-max game. Well, then you got to say that. You got to cast that vision and you got to show me how I'm going to get there. If Anthem was going to be a min-maxing game, you come out and you say that. We're going to be a min-maxing game. This is going to be your path to power. This is going to be the gameplay loop. Here's how we get from point A to point B. If you don't do that, then you're never going to get buy-in. You're never going to get buy-in. If you told me, let's go on a road trip, and I was like, cool, what kind of a road trip? What are you thinking? Up the coast? We going out west? What are we doing here? Are we doing an RV? Are we doing cars with tents? Are we going to be doing, hotels, motels? Holiday Inn, what are we doing? And you're like, I don't know, we're just gonna drive. It'd be like, okay, I don't. That sounds like a disaster. I need to know where we're going. Because I need to know how to pack. I need to know what clothes to bring. I need to know all these things. And the problem with a game like Anthem is if I don't know where your game's going, then I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with the content you're giving me. Should I be grinding it? Should I be min-maxing? Should I just be going for legendary? What should I be doing? You've got to orient the player to the trajectory of the game, and if you don't do that, then they're never, ever gonna give you buy-in. And that's the issue with Helldivers. It's like, okay, it's a loop, it's a loop, it's a loop, it's a loop. Well, where's the game going? Well, we don't know. That Galactic War Table could go anywhere. Okay, that's cool. That creates mystery. That creates the unknown. So how do I get stronger? How do I ensure I'm good for the new content? Right? You've got to establish that, but you also have to establish how the content's going to change and get new without invalidating everything they've done. And that's where my thoughts on lateral contextual power come into play. Helldivers needs to add new landscapes and gameplay modes, like going to underground abandoned facilities full of aliens. I mean, you just turn it into a generic shooter if you can't use the stratagems, so I don't think I agree with that. Because of that game, I've drawn a hard line. If weapons are purchasable, I'm never touching your game. Can't come back to Helldivers 2 because it will be the most impossible to try new weapons without spending money. Oh, because of how the war bonds work? Yeah, so what they need to do, I'll tell you what they need to do. And this is just another, aspect of Helldivers that I think is worth discussing. I think the war bonds should have free premium, free items, premium items. And I think all of the weapons should be free. And then premium items should be really, really awesome skins for the weapons. Really awesome skins for your characters. People would buy into that. Like if the weapons all look plain Jane when you're on the free track, but the premium track makes the weapon look freaking dope, well then people would be more willing to engage with that. I know that you can avoid spending money and get the guns, Chris. I think it's a clearer value offer when you say, here's the war bond. All of these items with the blue star are free. Just play and get them with enough time. The rest of these are not. And everything else would just be cosmetic because it's such a cool, visual game. It's cinematic. Your character looks cool. You can see your character. You can see the guns. You can see your cape, right? No, there's no stream with Mike today. Can one person remember a single character's name in the Anthem story? Well, no one can. Well, that doesn't matter. That's not what the game's about. I don't need to know story to play a game like Helldivers 2. I don't know almost any of the story or any of the elements in the First Ascendant. I was having a perfectly fine and fun time with it. Right? I don't think that's important. They should have had weapon skins day one. I don't know what they were thinking without them. Listen, you can come out and you can defend your war bonds or your battle pass by being like, well, but you don't have to spend, and if you do... No. Stop. You save yourself a world of trouble and headaches because video gamers and people on the internet are using the most non-thoughtful part of their brain. Do you want to know why? Because this could probably be studied. It probably already has been studied. So one of the reasons we're on a terrible trajectory as humanity is because the intersection of information reception has now intersected with entertainment. And when you engage with entertainment, you shut your brain off. So when you engage with information now, you shut your brain off. Traditionally, you would get information and you would get sort of educated on a subject in the library, from a lecture, from a college professor, from public debate, whatever. You'd go to the public square. Like you go all the way back to the history of like philosophy, and you would see that that's what most thoughtful and most, good thinking persons sort of came to those environments. Now, the intersection of how do I get my information is interwoven with places that entertain you. So what do? You hear about a game and you're like, duh, like you're thinking with the dumb part of your brain. So you don't hear all that information. So you have to talk to people like they're stupid. They're not stupid. They're using the stupid part of their brain. They're not being thoughtful. They're engaging with entertainment. You're not being super analytical, right? So it just, you save yourself like a world of trouble. You save yourself a world of trouble if you're like, none of the guns, you can't spend any money to get guns. You only spend money on cosmetics. And the monkey brain of the internet and the gaming world goes, that's good. And then you saved yourself a world of trouble. Like, you have to keep things so incredibly simple because people are engaging with your information in an entertainment environment. So they're not thinking. They're not analyzing. Yo, what's good, Captain Steve? I booted up the No Man's Sky update yesterday on my PlayStation. I have like 130 hours on PC, but I wanted to start playing on PlayStation because of the PSVR 2. So I started a new save a long time ago, and I have nothing. So I just flew around, checked out some of the planets and stuff, some of the stuff I hadn't seen since, some of the most recent updates, but the expedition wasn't live. I wanted to start an expedition character, and it wasn't live yesterday. So I didn't play for very long. You want to game the last 10 years and think story does not matter? That's the number one mistake. I think Destiny's proof of the opposite of that, because they started deprioritizing story with their seasonal content because that's not what people cared about. Story started to take a back seat. Now, story was still there. And a lot of the story elements of Destiny's not even in the game. It's in the Grimoire cards, and you got to go look them up. I think you can do both. You can have great story if this is one of the things that Destiny's been praised for. You can completely ignore the story, or you can deep dive. Right? I think that's a great mixture. Like, you don't need story, but it's there if people want it. People love the story in Destiny. I'm not saying they don't, Paul. I'm saying I don't think it's necessary. Bungie themselves deprioritized story for the seasonal content. It wasn't as front and center as it used to be. They used to make you play through like a campaign every single time, and they moved away from that because they were spending all that blood and treasure on campaign content that people would play once and never go back to ever again. Story started to become more sprinkled in instead of central. It's still there. There's deep lore. There's deep meaning to what you're doing, and tons of people completely ignore it. They do. I don't disagree with you. The characters are iconic and people love them, for sure. They did not deprioritize the story? Yes, they did. You're talking to the guy that covered the game extensively for 5 years. We covered that when they did that. We talked about how I always said that. I always said story should be less of a focus in the seasonal grind. You can have your big major story beats and cinematics whenever you do your DLCs, but for the seasonal grind, I was like, this is such a waste. And they quite literally toned all that down. You had way less cinematics. You had way less story focus. It was like sprinkled in week to week. You would go and run a mission and talk to somebody, and there was audio. But you could completely ignore that, and the lion's share of the player base does. Tons of people either play just PvP, or they just live in the public spaces, or they just live in the strikes. They deprioritized it. It wasn't as much of a priority. I'm not saying they removed it. I think you guys are misunderstanding the word deprioritize. You're forgetting how focal story was to their content beats. I'm using the word deprioritized. You guys are reading too much into it. I didn't say they removed it. It got lowered in priority. They weren't doing all of that. They were like, this is not as important as giving people new content. I didn't say they removed it. They just lowered it in priority. I played the game full time and covered it back then. We made content about this. We talked about how story had been deprioritized and the seasonal model benefited when they did that. Story was still there, but it had been lowered in priority. It was no longer this big, huge, you come and there's like 3 hours of story campaign that you've got to play first and all these cutscenes. They stopped doing that as often as they were because it was like, and I always use the Panoptes fight as an example. The Panoptes fight was this great, amazing campaign fight, and you did it once and never again. So it was like, what the heck? Like, build the content that I'm going to be playing over and over again. Don't build one-off content. That doesn't make any sense. All that time to play through something once? I still think Panoptes was originally meant to be an opening to a raid or a dungeon, and then it got repurposed into a story, but that's a whole nother discussion. I'm not saying story doesn't matter. I'm saying you can have both. I think you can have successful live service games without prominent story. I think you can do it. I think there are plenty of people who engage with Destiny and don't pay any attention to the story, and they're proof of that. They live in the public sector, they live in the strikes, or they live in PvP, and they don't pay any attention to any of that stuff. That was a DLC, not a season. Right, but I always use that as an example for my argument. You're misunderstanding my point. I always said that Panoptes was proof that they needed to start taking their campaign missions and make them replayable. That was something that I always ranted about. I was like, you guys spend all this time and all this money making super fun, super creative environments and story elements, and then we never go back to them. That was a criticism that I always made. So when they said, there was like a blog about it, when they said that story wasn't going to be as prominent in the content rhythm so that they could focus more on the content, I celebrated that. I was like, I've been saying this for a very long time. Story was still good. I remember praising wherever you would go into the pyramid ship and it was a new mission every week, and then you would get new lore and dialogue from Eris Morn. I remember praising that. I said, this is a great way to do your story. It's not this big prominent thing. It's not this big campaign. It's not a bunch of cutscenes, but it's a great peppering of story. So throughout the season, the world's moving forward. But it was very easy to ignore that. 809 lying with 20 months. Lono, as someone who doesn't enjoy multiplayer games, I actually had fun with Concord, but man, I would love a single player game in that world. I'm right there with you, Lion. Thank you for 20 months. I'm right there with you. The characters, their facial animations, the movement, the shooting. It would have been such a fun, squad-based looter shooter. It would have been a blast. It would have been an absolute blast. The point I'm making is that I don't think you can claim that, if you're going to have a successful live story, you need meaningful story. Right? There are plenty of games right now where the story is there, but it's not this prominent, front and center, high priority thing. It's like, here's a little scene, here's some dialogue, here's some stuff. Okay, now get to the grind. Now go and do your thing. There are plenty of live service games that don't hyper focus on story. Like, I think you could have success, like Warframe, for example. Warframe's been around for a long time. Are they hyper focusing on the story? Who are the characters in that, right? The content loop is one of the main reasons people always praise Warframe. There are plenty of games that make it, and they make it because the content and the world and the elements of investment are so significantly strong that you keep coming back. You don't need that super, super strong story. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I definitely think story adds purpose and meaning and background and depth to the importance. Like, obviously, the Oryx raid is one of the best, not just because of the size and the scope, but because of what you do. Like, the story setup for that is awesome. Okay, well, you don't need that, though. Wrath of the Machine was equally, I think, just as good of a raid, and the story elements there are virtually non-existent. It's like, Siva, oh no, infection, oh no, let's go fight. Remember how heavily I criticized how they didn't have us fighting the Iron Lords as the final boss of the Wrath of the Machine raid? I said, that would have been way better than just some random no-name guy. But guess what? It's still an amazing raid, and I put more time into that than the Oryx raid. Do you see? It's like you don't need amazing story and amazing characters to have good live service content and to have live service content that people enjoy. Like Age of Triumph, right? That last 6 months of Destiny 1, there was no story going on. It was just good content. I've been on here since you started fighting the Tree Sentinel in Elden Ring. My man. Yeah, Axis was just a random guy. Coffee site is broken? What? My sister couldn't order last night. Are you having trouble with that? My wife said that she got charged 3 times and the order never went through. I don't know if anybody else is saying that. Now, ReforgeRoast.com is working for me. Well, I mean, it's working as in I pulled it up. I'm not actively trying to order something. I'm going to tell you the lore in Elden Ring. I love that game. It won't let me log in. It won't let me order without logging in. You should just have to do forgotten password. Or it could be, yeah, because of the payment processor thing. Well, the CrowdStrike thing could be affecting it, for sure. Yeah, but to be fair, though, you're saying you don't know anything about the story and you loved Elden Ring. Paul's point was you need good story and good characters for people to get attached to if you want them to go the distance with your game, right? Were people doing that in Diablo 3 seasons? I don't think so. Diablo 3 seasons worked because the content loop was fun and satisfying. Nobody was like, oh my gosh, I just absolutely love the characters in this world. Right? Like, I think you can have a successful live service game, ongoing live service game, and get good engagement, even if your story is very, like, either plain or non-memorable. Like, Helldivers 2 was doing excellent. If you want to argue that, oh, Helldivers fell by the wayside because of a lack of story, I think that's a complete misdiagnosis of why Helldivers has lost players. It's lost players because it got rote, rehearsed, and boring. It needs to be rejuvenated. It needs to be refreshed. 2.0 moment or something. It needs something. But no, if you look at Helldivers 2 and you're like, well, if they had compelling characters and compelling story, then people would be coming back. Homie, the story and the Galactic War Table and what's happening in that game went viral. There was all kind of things happening in the game that put that game on the map. You don't need to know the names of the characters in Helldivers 2. You can name a Diablo character. That's superfluous to the discussion. Just because I can name Deckard Cain doesn't mean that's why I was playing seasonal content or why other people were saying playing seasonal content. Those things aren't connected. I wasn't coming back and engaging with Deckard Cain. I was engaging with a Rift mechanic that was addicting. Like, Helldivers 2 had story elements that everybody was talking about. People were theorizing. Videos were going viral. Memes were going viral. You don't need like, oh, but that guy on the ship, that guy Dave is really awesome. No, I don't think that you need that. And that, again, is a misdiagnosis of like, well, Helldivers would be doing a lot better if it had memorable characters. That wouldn't turn the tide of disinterest in a game like that. That's not what people were coming back for to begin with. At its peak, when Helldivers was doing very well, no one was like, oh yeah, it's the story and the characters. No, it was the gameplay. Who are the characters in Helldivers 2 besides the lady that speaks to you and the Nick Fury before you pick a location? That's what I mean. I don't think you need that. One more month to the 1 year anniversary. Yo, thank you so much, Joe Pesci Batman. He bumps the line of members to 114. If your membership is a member plus or higher and you renew, it gets added to the count. Thank you so much. I'm gonna do. Where did I go back? Yeah, go back to here. I mean, I know a lot of Destiny lore, but have yet to beat the final shape campaign or boot up the game because it's the same crap, different year. Yeah, and that's fine. I think everybody gets to that point with the game sometime. You know, everybody gets to that point. But the thing that we were debating is, I don't think it's a proper diagnosis to be like, well, if your game had story, you know, more people would be playing. You know, if Helldivers 2 had meaningful story and characters, more people would be playing. I don't agree with that at all. Like, you're not even entering onto the landscape of assessing the problem and diagnosing and coming up with like a solution. It's so superficial to look at a game like Helldivers 2 and be like, well, if it had characters that were memorable, it's like, no. That was never the draw to begin with. It was a goofy game that didn't take itself seriously and blowing up aliens. That's it. Don't you think character development and interesting characters would make you want to explore that world more to see what's really going on? No, because what you're doing is you're creating contextual contradiction. I don't have a name in Helldivers. It's not an RPG. I'm not personalizing my character beyond armor selection and guns. So the superficial depth of my character is out of step with creating a bunch of depth within the world and all the characters. Like, it's like, I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people play Destiny and they don't pay any attention to the story. Because there's superficial depth to your character. You just pick a warlock and you pick armor and you build and you get some guns, right? Like, a lot of people, they don't care. Like, you're literal cannon fodder in Helldivers. You go down, you die, you go down, you die, you boom, boom, boom. You just keep going back down and fighting. There's a superficial nature to the game. Nobody bought that game hoping for deep, robust story. That's like a contextual contradiction. Like, no one's buying Helldivers or I don't even Starship Troopers game, Aliens Fire Team. No one's buying these games and they're like, oh, I really hope there's some deep character arc and development. You know, like, in 6 months, I really want to see somebody overcome adversity and become stronger and better. Like, you're not, no one's, that's not the type of game that it is. That's why I think the weekly cutscene story focus of Concord is confusing. It's like, who in the heck cares? It's a 5v5 arena shooter. In 6 months, do I really care about the story? Are people going to a PvP game for story? Like, is that happening? Isn't that the lore of Helldivers? You're Joe Schmo. That's going to get blown up. Yeah, that's basically it. It's like, there's no depth to that at all. I got into Helldivers 2 because it didn't have any of that, says Brett Williams. Right? We know for a fact that 70% of the people that log in to play Destiny in the public spaces and they just patrol proves our point that the vast majority don't care about the story. Right. How many people have read the Grimoire cards? Like, come on. Whether or not they play in the public spaces is no indicator on whether someone cares about the story. There's no link there. You could make a link, because if their engagement with the game is so superficial and so low level, I find it unlikely that they're super, super entrenched in the story and they know all the characters' names and they care. Like, I think those two go hand in hand. Like, if you're just constantly grinding a game at the lowest level, I think it's fair to say that person's less likely to be invested in the overall story, because their engagement with the game is at the lowest possible tier. It's like they're literally just running around shooting stuff. I'm not saying every single person that falls into that percentage, but it's like, man, I'd put money on the table that the vast majority of the people who play Destiny aren't paying attention to the story at all. I remember having heated debates with people about, I don't care about the story. They didn't want the story. I remember people like asking to skip the story or skip the campaign, or they only wanted to play through it once because they just didn't care. I mean, there's a lot of people like that. You know? Simply encountering someone in public space can't be attributed to that. Checking someone's activity logs and seeing anything more than 25% spent in patrol absolutely can't assume that. 70% isn't even accurate. I mean, I'm not saying his number was accurate. We know historically the vast majority of the people that engage with Destiny, they do not go into the upper echelons of the content. They live in the public spaces in the strike playlist. And then there's a significant portion of people who live in PvP, right? So it's like, what is that? 20% story? Is that weekly or is that overall? What's that number, Eugene, that you just put in the Discord? It says 28% patrol, 20% story. Nightfall, raids, strikes, gambit, lost sector, offensives. When was that number even pulled? For my friend group, it's probably higher than 70%. What Sony is doing business model-wise with Concord and other properties are to turn every game into a TV series or movie. They want an ecosystem. That's right now. Probably a cherry-picked stat, though, if there's brand new story things to do. It's not like that. It's not like that year-round. It never has been. Like, once you're a month or two into a season, people aren't going back. 20% of the daily player base is not going and playing story. Like, that's got to be cherry-picked. That's got to be relevant to something that's happening in the game right now. There ain't no way that when, like, a season dropped in that game, that you'd get 8 weeks into the season and people are grinding story. Not to mention most of the story is now taking place in public spaces. Right, which historically didn't happen, which could mean that a lot of the people that are engaging with it maybe traditionally didn't. They're just doing it because it's in public spaces now. I don't know. You guys are getting caught into the minutia and ignoring the larger point. The larger point is not that people in Destiny don't care about the story. It's that a huge portion of that community does not care about the story, as evidenced by all of the interaction I had with the community over the years of covering it, as evidenced by engagement patterns, as evidenced by Bungie's own admission that that wasn't going to be a priority in the content going forward, that they were going to sprinkle it out and stretch it out and not make it this big, huge focus. There's plenty of evidence to back the claim that a lot of the people that have played Destiny over the years don't care about the story. That's not scandalous to say. That's not hard to prove. We know this to be true. We know this to be true. And the only reason that I cited Destiny, and we're getting caught in you guys feeling the need to defend a game that you like and elements of the game that you like, so you have a personal dog in the fight, and I don't. It's like you guys feel the need to defend that. You're getting lost in the weeds. The entire point of the discussion was you can have a successful live service game. You can have a successful live service game format without super meaningful story. And if you're going to diagnose what would have helped Helldivers 2 last longer, or if you're going to argue what Helldivers 2 needs right now, it's not story. You're getting lost in defending Destiny or defending a point that you think I'm making that I'm not, and it's ultimately a waste of time. I know that it's probably about a about a 50-50 split, but that's still a lot of people who just don't care that much about the story in the game. The original point I was making is you cannot establish that as a need because there are games that have done well without that. There are games that have had ongoing formats that have worked just fine without the huge emphasis on story, whether it's the seasonal format that was crafted for 8 years in Destiny 3, in Diablo 3. Warframe is another example. I don't know what kind of story focus the Elder Scrolls Online has ever had. I remember when I grinded that and played that, I felt like story focus was fairly minimal. Who has friends that play Destiny and don't care about the story? Raise your hands if you don't know any. Would love to know how many people bought the skip, the final shape. Yeah, I just think that every game is different. So I think in some games you could diagnose the game and you could say there wasn't enough lore building, world building, story building for people to get attached. And you would be correct. I think that that's something that the Division could have benefited from. You know, I think that what was the thing that turned everything around? Warlords of New York, where it started to feel like there was, you know, I don't want to misdiagnose Division because I wasn't playing it at the time, but you could probably argue that about Division, that maybe it would have had a stronger pull if they would have had like really compelling and powerful story. But even that game, I just don't know if that's what people are drawn to. I feel like they're more drawn to the content loop and the min-maxing. You know? Every successful MMO has great story. Right, and you're proving my point. You're running to a context where world building and lore building is more important because it's an MMO. With a game like Helldivers 2, or you know, with a game like even a game like Concord, or even a game like, you know, Diablo 4. Like Diablo and Blizzard games have amazing cutscenes and amazing story, but the ongoing format doesn't prioritize that. Like, what worked so well for Diablo 3 was a seasonal grind that was just super addicting. So I think there's a spectrum of importance. You've got MMOs down here where, yes, the world building, the lore building, the story is massively important. And down here you have like Helldivers 2. It's like Helldivers 2 is basically the equivalent of a PvP game, right? It's got like the mindless loop, and that's what matters. Like refreshing that and keeping that fresh, I think, is more important than story or characters. Because what set us off down this trail, Paul was like, can you name a single character or person in Helldivers? And I was like, but that's not what the game's built around. Right? Like, it would almost be like approaching an MMO and being like, I really want a short, quick, repeatable content loop like you get in like a Helldivers or a Concord. Well, you're approaching the game and asking of something that contextually doesn't make any sense. MMOs are going to have longer tail engagement patterns and design philosophies, and you're going to need those in place or people aren't going to like it. So similarly, I don't think you approach a game like Helldivers and stress like, oh, there's a lack of really important characters, lore building, world building, and storytelling, because I don't think that's what the major selling point of the game is. I wouldn't want Helldivers to focus on that. If Helldivers started doing like war bonds coupled with like really incredible stories and characters and cinematics, I'm like, man, y'all are wasting your money. We don't need this. You just gotta make it fun to go boom boom again. That's all. Like, you gotta freshen it up. Everyone I know skips a campaign in Diablo 4 when a new season starts. You do it once when you first play the game, but never again. Games are built around actions and verbs. Story is noun and adjectives. Right, but I think that, you know, to ground those actions and verbs, you sometimes need the story. You need the nouns and the adjectives. You want to ground my actions, my verbs are actions, but you want to ground my action in, you know, something meaningful. I think that's why MMOs spend time doing that. This was more about the rose-tinted Anthem views people have. Yeah, but see, that's where I would disagree with you, Paul. I don't think that Anthem needed robust storytelling. I also think they actually told pretty cool stories. They were just the side missions. There was the guy that split himself into 3 personalities. That was really cool and intriguing and well voice acted and actually well written. The main story was pretty throwaway, but I do think that's a challenge because, for example, Paul, if we really want to say the story and the lore is what made Destiny so popular, I take you back to vanilla Destiny and the Vaults of Glass. What hooked people was the gameplay and the mystery and the mystique. There was almost no storytelling whatsoever. Now, you could argue that the Taken King was the turning point, and you could argue because of the story, but it was also because the content was so good. The guns and the locations and what we got to do. Like, it's intermingled. And I feel like in Anthem, they could have done a better job intermingling it, but there was nothing to do. And everybody forgets that Anthem had internal dissonance. Don't you remember? You could get like shotgun perks on a non-shotgun. Like, even their perk pool was busted and didn't work right. So there was no sense of like, what should I be grinding for? What should I be doing? You remember that, right? There was an internal dissonance in Anthem. That game didn't know what it was meant to be. Like, and that's why I remember having debates about the drop rates. And people were like, but you're getting legendaries. And it's like, it's not a loot-based game. It was a perk-based game. It was a min-maxing game at its heart. At least it seemed like it wanted to be. And if I couldn't get more guns to drop, then I was never... If I couldn't get more loot to drop, then I was never, ever going to be able to min-max in that game. Story wouldn't have saved Anthem. It wouldn't have. If they would have told an award-winning story with compelling characters, that game would still be dead. It would still be dead. That's not a proper diagnosis of what went wrong with Anthem. It's like the people that say, go woke, go broke, and they're talking about kill the Justice League. That's not why Justice League is dead. Justice League is dead because they did not design a good live service game. They didn't. It's the same misdiagnosis. If you go to Anthem and you're like, well, if it would have told a compelling story and had really great characters. No. There was nothing to do. There was nothing to grind. There was no spiral staircase. It was a spiral staircase to nowhere. Grind up to go up. Why? Why? There was just nothing on the other side. Content would have saved Anthem, not story. Right. Like, reworking systems would have saved it. Right? A lot of people forget. I saw a really good video about this, that Destiny, especially, to take it back to Destiny had a lot of systems reworked in House of Wolves, and both House of Wolves and The Dark Below were criticized for how non-substantive they were, but House of Wolves brought really, really good system-wide changes, and then those system-wide changes were able to flourish in The Taken King. So again, I think the content is what carried it, not the story. Like, the story was certainly cool. But that's not what carried it. The content is really what carried it. It was like, now we have something to do. Now we have systems that we can interact with. That was always the issue. It was just such a vapid game in its early stages. It was like, there's nothing here. You know, there was the accusation of cut content, but they had chopped the game up and cobbled it back together when Joseph Staten's supercut was rejected. Yeah. Anthem was fun. The feel of Anthem, the flow of Anthem, it was fun. It was fun. All right, let me give you guys a total count here. I'll give you one last run here. If you want to make a run for the stretch, you would need 94 for the stretch goal. You guys got a little bit closer with some of the renewals, but tonight, for the members-only stream tonight, I do have to play a scary game. We'll pick that scary game in the green room. That's a great reason to be a member plus or higher. If you've been gifted a member, that's a standard membership that gets to come to Friday nights. But the green room is a segment on Fridays reserved for paying members. So it's the only thing we do like this. But if you want to upgrade to member plus or higher, make sure and use the upgrade command in chat. You also, every month when you're member plus or higher and you renew, you get to impact this member goal daily as well as weekly. Anytime you celebrate those member plus or those member VIP renewals, I bump this line. So, if you guys want to make a scramble to try to get the stretch goal so that when I play the scary game, Madam can mess with me, I'll give you guys like 15 minutes. I'll give you 15 minutes if you guys want to scramble. If you hit the member goal, I'll, what would I owe you? I'd owe you 20. I'll do a 50 bomb. I'll do it. We've done that before. If you guys manage to scramble in 15 minutes and you get this, you get another 100 members, basically, I'll do it. We've done that before, and that's been really fun. It gets a bunch of more people in the door. It gets a bunch of more people into the content. So if you guys stand tall and you accept the challenge, I'll drop a 50 bomb. If not, it's totally fine. It's totally fine if not. We had a huge week and a huge day, but I like to give you guys that opportunity because I know you guys like it when she messes with me when I'm playing a scary game. I don't know if it popped up in chat. I renewed as well. Team Ambush, can you refresh your chat and then click the $sign and see if you have a celebration? Everybody should check that right now. You guys could easily bump this line a lot without gifting. Everybody that's on a member plus or a VIP, you can celebrate that in chat and then we bump the line. We count those. That's been something that we made that change right before I went away on vacay. Sometimes it feels like the story carries live service, but that only happens after years of the game being out. It takes too long for that story to be established to carry the game. Well, and there's catch-22s, right? Because if you heavily focus on story, there it is, Team Ambush with 14 months and a member plus. Takes us to 115. He puts us 10 away from 125. We might see a 10-bomb dunker. The big boys were out in force today in chat. They may be still around. We'll see. It's a catch-22 because, you know, your game gets 2 or 3 years in and the story's amazing, but you always want to have that welcome and open funnel to new players. You know? You want to have that open funnel so that like a new player can just jump right in. Yeah, if you guys want to upgrade, you go to youtube.com/paid memberships. And then, well, paid has an underscore in between it and memberships. youtube.com/paid_memberships. And you should be able to change the level. Justin just hit 7 months on a member plus. See? You guys can move this line without gifting. There's a lot of people that renew and support the channel directly every month with the member plus or a VIP. And you guys can impact the member count on those goals every day now. There's another one. Ravenous Poro says, I'm doing my part. 117 on the day. Thank you so much, Ravenous Poro. Destiny needs that for new people. Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a catch-22. Like, if Helldivers completely reinvents content flow and combat and has like a 2.0 moment and they rejuvenate a bunch of aspects of the game, right? Well, guess what? Anybody can jump in and just love the game. Now, obviously, they have to solve some of what Eugene was getting at, to where it feels like you have to spend money to get guns, you know? And that's not something that you want. You don't want people to feel that way. A fix has been deployed for the CrowdStrike thing. There it is. Raphael upgraded to Member Plus. That counts too. That counts too. Any upgrade bumps the line. Thank you so much. Taking it to 118. Rebels Pride, thank you. Welcome back. 11 months. I can't count standard membership renewals because that would allow gifteds to double dip. Like when you get a gifted membership, that hits the total, and then when you celebrate it, it could also hit the total, and that would be very bad, because that would basically mean every single gifted membership would count twice. So if you want to increase the count with your renewal, you got to be on Member Plus or above. We do have to have that one rule. It's just because I can't distinguish between paying and gifted. It doesn't let me do that. The reason we made the change is we wanted to say thank you to the people that are supporting the channel directly, because we weren't doing that. And it was like, oh, I want to thank those people. There's another one. Homie Wan Kenobi just upgraded and bumps the line to 119. There we go. See? It's as easy as that. You're like, I can't gift members. You can upgrade for $1 and increase account, and then Madam can mess with me tonight if you guys can get enough. What he doesn't say is that computers have to be online in order to get the fix, and a lot of them are stuck in boot loops. Oh, they can't push out something that you could download in safe mode or something? Couldn't they go into safe mode and download the update? Can't you like hit a bunch of buttons when that first like BIOS screen comes up? I don't know. I'm not a big computer whiz, but you know. Thoughts on how the Avengers game was handled with live service? I didn't really play or analyze that game much. I don't have really anything to say about it. It got such bad reviews when it came out. I was like super looking forward to it, and it just got such bad reviews that I just never touched it. Yeah, it looks like their Star Wars Outlaws Moon video is premiering right now. Once again, here it is. Here's a great shot showing that there is no consistency in what this character looks like. That looks like a completely different character. Her skin complexion looks different. Her facial structure looks different. Now, instead of looking like a jagged puppet, she looks like she got stung by a bee. That does not look like the latest trailers. Her hairstyle doesn't look right either. I don't think they made her look ugly. I don't think they know what she's supposed to look like. She always looks different. She never looks the same. The stuff we watched yesterday, she looked like a Team America puppet, and now, like, who is that? That doesn't look like K-Vess. Who is that? The video that we broke down yesterday, she looks gaunt and like jagged, and she looks like a puppet. And in that picture, she looks like puffy, like swollen, like somebody stung her. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if it's the lighting. Yeah, the lighting's completely flat. Yeah. Like there's no light, there's no depth to her face at all. Oh, there's another shot. Here's another shot. Hang on. I got to back it up frame by frame here. Okay, based on the face we just saw, who's this? Who is that? It's a different character. She went from looking puffy to now she looks like the last episode of Survivor where they've lost a bunch of weight and like their cheekbones are showing because they're gaunt and they're malnutritioned. Like, she doesn't look good here. Who is this? I'm telling you, I don't get it. I don't get what they did with this game. She never looks the same. And another one, RPG renews. Putting us at 120. We're 5 away from 125. This is wild. There's no shot of her. Hang on, let me go back. Here's another shot. Who's that? Who is that? What's going on? Who's this person? Her eyes don't look right. They look further apart. And then now she's got a dimple in her chin. I don't understand, man. I don't think I've ever seen a game where the main character never looks the same. Who's this guy, by the way? Who's that? That's not what he looks like in the game. Is this supposed to be that bad guy from the trailers? That doesn't look like him. What the frick are they doing, man? It's like they mocapped real people and then fired them, and they're like, well, just use the scenes. We'll just make them look different. Like, what the heck is going on? I don't get it, man. People are all like, oh, they made her ugly. It's like, I don't think they made her ugly. I honestly think the art direction has been handled by like 8 different teams. I don't think anybody knows what she's supposed to look like. Because if you go to the key art, if you go to all their promotional artwork, she doesn't even look like those posters anymore. I don't know who that is on the posters, but it ain't her. Maybe it's the Acolyte. The Dequa. All right, you guys got 6 minutes. 6 minutes. And you need, how many do you need? Let's see here. You need 88 more members, and I drop a 50 bomb. 88 more members. So basically, this needs to hit 208. If you guys can get 88 more, you got 5 minutes to do it. I'll drop a 50 bomb, and then Madam can mess with me tonight during the scary game. I'll let you guys have that. We're not going to extend today, though. Hunt Showdown 1896 gets an ESRB rating, possibly for a next-gen upgrade. And a 5 bomb from Parasito, and he takes us to 125. I owe you 5. I'm not doing it because if we hit the 208, I'm dropping a 50 bomb. So I'm not going to do 5s along the way. You're not getting the double dip. That would be like 70 members by the time it's all said and done. But if you guys can do this, if you don't, I'll do the 5 that I owe you here or whatever we get to. I'll pay you whatever I owe you if you don't get to 208. But if you get to 208, you get 50 instead of 20. They're quadruplets born by the Force. Yeah, the power of many. It's like they have key art model, cutscene model, in-game model, and they all look slightly different for some reason. I truly don't understand what they've done. I truly don't understand. That's honestly like what it seems like, JG. It's like, huh? Did you guys literally use a different model for every single scene? What happened? Because the model that they have, she's very pretty. And in some of the shots and in some of the key art, I think K-Vest looks pretty. And at other times, it's like, what happened? You know? There's so many different looks for her in everything we've seen. What's happening? I don't know, bro. Okay, the premiere now has the timer gone. That right there is when I feel like she looks the most consistent. Like that little shot there that they just showed. I've not looked at Throne and Liberty, no, gangs. All right, 3 minutes, boys, and we're going to the green room. Hey, John is the agent of chaos. Thank you so much. Look right there. She looks, hang on a second. She looks so different. Thank you so much. John just became a member plus. Thank you so much. Looks like he meant to do that on a different account. That's okay. You can go change your handle on the back end. I won't say your name. That might have been a mistake. She looks great here, right? Her face has shape, right? She looks feminine. Like her lips look feminine. Like she looks great here. Why doesn't she look like this all the time? Oh, this is a cinematic. That's why. Some are full CGI renders. Right. It's almost like once they have to do anything in engine, Paul, she looks terrible. More PC gameplay. Yeah, the cinematics look great. All these cinematics look phenomenal. They look like a freaking Star Wars movie. It looks like she's in front of a green screen. Yeah, in some of the sequences, she doesn't look like she's in the game. Yeah, it's bad. She doesn't have any permanence. It's like she's not there. Yeah, I mean, if they can get it to run this well on PC... and the PC boys give it good scores, then the question would be, like, how's it going to look? Oh, golly. How's it going to look in, they have actual Star Wars footage in here. Jiminy Christmas. That's all I need. Yeah, I don't want to watch anymore. If they do that again, yeah, you got to watch out, man. Disney gets a little... Those guys that, like, react to the shows and stuff got to be extra careful. Okay, I'm just going to do a 5-bomb. That's totally fine. We'll use the green room to pick the scary game. You guys got the goal for the week. Stretch goal. Stretch goal is always just for fun. It's not a big deal that we didn't get the stretch goal. Let me do the 5 that I owe you, and then let me schedule the green room. Green room is designed for member plus and above. So member pluses and VIPs. If you are a gifted member, if you got gifted, you can come with us tonight. The Friday night stream, we'll be hanging out, we'll be having drinks, we'll be laughing. Let's see here. We'll be hanging out, we'll be laughing, and we'll be doing that tonight. So everybody can come to the Friday night streams. Everybody. But if you want to come to the weekly Friday, just chill and relax green room, it's not the writer's room, it's the green room, then you're going to want to upgrade. Bump up to Member Plus. It's only $1 more. Only $1 more. Let me set up redirect and give you guys a link. As we come to a close to the week, do me a special favor and smash that like button if you haven't already. It'll help this video later on. Gaming news this week is a segment that we want to consistently do. Every Friday is a way to cover all the different gaming news things that happened. And we got into a bit of a debate about live service and all kinds of different topics today. And that is something that we get to do because Fridays is a little bit more laid back. All right, let me give you guys a link to the green room. Thanks so much for being a Member Plus or higher. If you are at a Member Plus tier or a VIP, you're supporting the channel directly. We greatly appreciate that. If you're watching the tail end and you are currently on a gifted tier or just the $5 tier, you can come to Friday nights, but there is one segment a week we reserve for those paying for the memberships and supporting the channel directly, and that's Friday. That's the green room. I'll change the lighting in just a second. I'm going to end the previous stream, which was gaming news this week. And thanks for the great turnout for that. Solid results when we don't actually have like a central